Hello and welcome to today's video, which is how do I buy an investment property with no deposit? Now this might be a very quick video for you because unfortunately I can't think of a perfect way to buy property with zero deposit. There's so many risks when you're starting off in property. You don't want to increase them by doing super creative models and options. And there are companies that do champion that and that do give you lots of information about getting started with property. It's just not really a preference that we use ourselves, and it's not really a preference of the investors that we work with. However, there are options. There are ways to get started with limited funds. There are ways to get involved in property without starting with big chunky deposits. And that's what we'll touch on in today's video. So rather than trying to give you a magic bullet, rather than trying to say to you, this is the route that you need to take and it's going to be super fast and it's zero risk and it's going to give you loads of cash, there aren't any options like that I would suggest property is suited for. Property is typically favored by investors for long-term plans. It's typically favored by investors even over the shorter term that require some form of consideration around the risk-reward elements and that do have some funds to get started. But what are the options? So we usually see it broken down into three camps. The first way to get started in property with zero deposit, or what we usually suggest is limited deposit, is not actually investing in property directly, but getting started in the property industry. Building up your knowledge, building up your experience, building up your contacts. And that can be working for a company within the industry by getting a suitable job within a letting agent or estate agents, even an investment company, new build developers, some company that you can maybe work with that will give you great insight, great on the job training that you can build not only a deposit pot by saving, but also build your experience within that industry, which allows you to then go on and do much more successful deals over the longer term. Now that's not suited for everybody, I appreciate that. So what are the alternate methods outside of going to work for a company? Well, one of those could be getting started in the industry and not necessarily working for a company, but starting your own company. So we see many investors doing that via property sourcing, and they might have experience or contacts or some elements of kind of industry insight that allows them to get started as a property sourcer with a bit more tempo, a bit more kind of speed, and leverage their existing experience. And property sourcing means that you can work with investors who would then purchase those properties that you source, and you can generate an income and you can generate a fee for sourcing those properties by acting as a buyer's agent. And that can be a great way to build your property plans, build some funds so that you have resources then to go and acquire properties directly. So that's one option. So working kind of within the industry. Second option is certainly going out there and buying properties directly, but looking at reducing your expectations on how much deposit you might need. So if you're based maybe in an affluent or expensive part of the country, let's take London as an example, if you're looking at deposits of around say 50, 75, 100,000 required to buy properties on your doorstep, there's certainly other options outside of your location that could be a great fit for you. So we're based in the Northwest, for example. In our area, you have primary towns like Manchester. You have cities, you have secondary cities and primary towns where the price of those assets will vary. So a 2-bedroom terrace in Manchester could range anywhere from sort of 150,000 up towards sort of 400,000, depending on what part of Manchester you're looking in. You could be looking at other areas of the Northwest where a 2-bedroom terrace might range from 40,000 up to sort of 100,000, again, depending on the area that you're looking in. But there's these variables that allow you to get started in property. Hard asset cost is going to be cheaper than maybe on your local doorstep, and therefore your deposit is going to be a bit more reduced. So even if you're looking at, say, a 25% deposit on a £100,000 property compared to a £400,000 property, it's going to be different. And that might open up the opportunities for you to consider. And some of those opportunities, some of those areas can be really good longer term plans for buy-to-let as well. If you look back historically at how they've performed and you look forward at what the investment in those areas are looking like, what the population growth in those areas are looking like, and you start to get a feel for what that area might be able to achieve over the longer term. And they typically have good solid rental yields, good solid tenant profiles, and relatively stable growth over a period of time as well. And none of that's guaranteed. You still have to do your research on those areas, but hopefully it gives you insight into what options are available there. And then the third option that we'd say to consider how you can kind of get started in property with zero or limited deposit is looking at alternate strategies wholly. So not buying property physically outright yourself, and or going and working in the industry, but looking at alternate methods and alternate strategies. And property crowdfunding is one of those. And property crowdfunding is a relatively new strategy. There's platforms out there that allow you to interact and transact on those types of deals. What it fundamentally means is you can get started in property from typically as little as about £100 upwards. You would buy shares within a company, and that company owns the asset, owns the properties that it's going to buy. And there's loads of options in that space. There's lots of platforms. There's lots of different types of properties on those platforms. So whether you like commercial or residential, different geographical areas, different price ranges of properties, it opens up the scope of the types of opportunities you consider, but reduces your friction, you're kind of getting started money's required on those types of opportunities as well. So I hope that helps. Hopefully that helps, gives you some structure and context about how you can kind of get started. Now, if you are looking at getting started kind of in the industry and working as a property sourcer, there's lots of different content that we have around property sourcing, and there's certainly training companies within the industry that can assist you with that as well. If you're looking at investing in property but reducing maybe the amount required, so the hard asset cost is lower and therefore your deposit is lower. If you needed introductions to mortgage brokers, or you needed introductions to companies that can help you source those properties, again, just let us know. We can help you introduce you to those. And likewise for property crowdfunding, if that is something you did want to consider and look at, there's plenty of platforms out there. There's one main company that we typically introduce clients to. So again, just let us know and I can put you in touch with those. Hope that helps. Hope that gives you some grounding of how to get started in property with little or no deposit. And just as a final recap, I would say that honestly, don't kind of worry. There are options out there, but property isn't a get rich quick scheme. It's not a way for zero risk and zero input. There's going to be money required in some way, shape or form. There's going to be energy and input required in some way, shape or form. So it's important to understand that. It's important to consider kind of the different options available. Hope that helps. I look forward to catching up with you in the next video. All the best.